2-8. Not on the board, Emma. There we go. Graphing linear. And absolute value. Inequalities. Spelled that crazy, didn't I? I did also look at changing my Google Classroom to one Google Classroom because it literally takes 10 years to load a picture onto the Google Classroom, and I have to do it 3 times for y'all and 3 times for geometry, so I'm probably going to move to one Google Classroom, move everybody to one at the end of this 6 weeks so it doesn't affect discussion posts and stuff. So I'll just wait till the end. All right, let's start with linear inequality. The linear inequality is going to resemble a linear equation with an inequality symbol. It's graph, not no parenthesis, apostrophe. It's graph has a shaded region. Some things I'll remind you about come all the way back from our lesson where we talked about the less than and greater than, we said had an open circle because they weren't equal to. So when we graph the line, they will have a dashed line. Whereas the less than, equal to, greater than, equal to have that equal to part. Remember, it had a solid circle. It's going to have a solid line.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. So on the less than and greater than symbols, because it's not equal to, we're going to put a dashed line. And then where it's less than, equal to, or greater than equal to, because it is equal to, we'll put a solid line.
So you're talking about
When we graph it. Mm-hmm. The boundary of the graph is represented by the line. So one of the things that I saw when people have been working on the homework today has been everybody still wants to make the XY chart. The whole point is to get away from that and start using what we know about the movements and the transformations to put things on a graph. And I think the lesson today is going to open your eyes a little bit more to what some of that does, okay? So let's look at a linear inequality first. All right, so when you have an equation like this, what would be the first step in the process of getting this onto the graph?
Put it in y equals mx plus b.
I need to put in y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to solve for y. I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form by solving for y. So I'm going to start by moving my x. And then dividing all my parts by 4. So that gives me y greater than negative 1/4 x plus 1/2. 2 over 4 is 1/2, right? Just simplifying. Make sure, had this 4 been negative, what would I have had to do? Flip the sign. So make sure you're watching for that as you're dealing with all the inequalities, because that is a rule for all inequalities, no matter what happens.
Can you do that again, please?
Which part?
The on the orange part.
So I subtracted x from both sides. And that gave me the 4y was left, right? Those two canceled. And this side was the negative x plus 2. Then I divided by 4. And I'm dividing the whole thing by 4, every part of it. So when I divide by 4, that leaves me with just the y, because those 4's canceled. Then this is negative 1 over 4. Do you agree that there's a 1 there? All right, so I have negative 1/4 x, and then plus 2 over 4, which reduced to 1/2. Okay? And now I can put that on the graph. I'm going to use the b, the y-intercept, to go on the graph, right? So I'm going to put my y-intercept at 1/2. Now you know I spread my graph out a whole lot today. All right, and then I'm going to go one of two directions. I can go down 1 into the right 4, or I can go up 1 into the left 4. We'll do both. And then I'll use my, we didn't talk about one thing really important. What this symbol means. Tell me what this symbol means before I draw this line. It does y is greater than, but what does that mean to me on the graph?
You have a
Dashed line. And I'm going to shade where?
the top half.
Above the line, right? All the y is greater than. Can we not tear the paper out right now?
That's my leg.
Okay, can we not do that right this minute?
Yeah.
We're on video.
Oh.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to draw this as a dashed line. I always kind of think it looks like Morse code when I look at it. All the points and lines. And I'm shading where? Above it. I don't do a whole lot of coloring there, because to me that comes in with the systems of inequalities when things overlap. I'm going to shade a region a whole lot darker. So here that's something sufficient for this. Okay? All right, you try this one. Because that was a review, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you try this one.
that a negative x?
Yes. Negative x minus 2y greater than or equal to 4. First thing I'm going to do is solve for y, right? So I'm adding the x to both sides. That gives me the negative 2y greater than or equal to x plus 4. And then I'm going to divide by negative 2. Remember, that's all the parts. You can write it either way. And when I divide by the negative 2, what's happening here? Flipping that sign, so then I have negative 1/2 x minus 2. Yes? Putting it on the graph, I'm starting at negative 2, and I've got a negative slope again. I could keep going.
Oh, well, you were right. Okay. I
No,
apologize for talking.
first time I was wrong. And you were like, okay.
Right.
I was like, what?
And what kind of line is it going to have?
Solid.
Solid and shade where?
Down.
Down or below, the y's below the line. Solid line and shading below. Yes? Questions?
Yes, why did you put point on the left side?
Because this can be positive 1 and negative 2 or negative 1 and positive 2. I can go either way, right? As long as only one of them is negative.
So is it running if I just put a
Points on this side?
Yeah.
No. Two points make a line,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
The others just help me line it up a little bit. Okay? Any other questions? Okay? Let's look now at the absolute value. I will tell you, this is what your homework has on it. This stuff. Okay? But you got to know how to do the absolute value for test purposes. They just didn't have any of those questions on the online stuff, so I apologize about that part. But I want to show it to you. It works exactly like this. It's no different. It's just 2 lines, right? Okay. So let's look at the absolute value part. If I have y greater than or equal to the absolute value of x minus 4, guys,